This is your Barbados Today morning news update for Wednesday, July 17th, 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Williams. Close to $500,000. That is what former General Secretary of the National Union of Public Workers, NUPW, Roslyn Smith, is now seeking in compensation from the union. The 65-year-old Smith, who served the NUPW for 47 years, is alleging unfair dismissal. This comes less than a week after the union announced it wouldn't renew her contract. Emmanuel Joseph has the details.
Investigations by Barbados Today revealed that the matter is now in the hands of the Chief Labour Officer, Victor Felix, for him to try to broker a settlement between the two sides. Smith is claiming $490,613.83 in compensation. This was confirmed by letter dated Monday's date, written by General Secretary of the Unity Trade Union, Senator Caswell Franklin, to the Chief Labour Officer on the behalf of Smith. In that letter, a copy of which has been obtained by Barbados Today, the money is broken down to include more than $405,000 as a basic award, $38,000 as pay in lieu, and in excess of $47,000 for 95 days vacation pay. Franklin wrote that his union was acting on behalf of Roslyn Smith, whose services, he said, were terminated with effect from April the 30th, 2019. At that time, he explained, she was on certified sick leave and the patient confined to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The UTU leader told the Chief Labour Officer Felix that on Saturday 6 July he met with the NUPW's legal advisor and they agreed that the dismissal was unfair. Franklin went on to tell the Chief Labour Officer that the NUPW lawyer gave an undertaking to advise that union to rescind the dismissal, but that he was reliably informed that his advice had been rejected. Up to news time, the acting General Secretary of the NUPW, Delcia Burke, could not be reached, but when contacted, President Akani McDowell told Barbados Today that all he could say was that the issue was being handled internally and his union awaits word from the Chief Labour Officer. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
Hundreds of mourners packed into the Kingdom of Life Assembly in Marlow, Christchurch yesterday to pay final respects to Rupert Patrick Stoute, who was murdered. The 43-year-old man, who was both deaf and had difficulty speaking, was brutally killed 2 weeks ago. Members of the deaf community were among the many who turned out in their numbers. During the service, Brother Terry, who has been outspoken about what occurred, was among those who broke down in tears. Pastor Selwyn Brathwaite delivered an impassioned sermon.
Our children are wreaking havoc in our homes, in our schools, in our streets, because parents, it seems, have been stripped of their power to tame them. And it seems now as though parents are mere service providers. Because no one is taking the time to come alongside the parents that are in struggle. And could I tell you, it's not only the bad parents, but bad children.
The number of reserves in the Barbados Defence Force, BDF, will be increased if Prime Minister Mia Mottley has her way. In fact, she has publicly stated that she wants the program expanded to fight a number of threats. Prime Minister Mottley made her position known on the issue as she addressed the agency's medals ceremony yesterday evening. While commending members of the BDF for their work and commitment over the years, she reaffirmed her administration's pledge of $1.5 million to bring an additional 1,000 Sea Cadets on board. She told the servicemen they too have a greater role to play.
We will play our part. But I ask those of you in uniform to play yours. For you come from communities and you come from families. And you are the best testimonial and representation as to why others should want to become involved, not just in the Sea Cadet program, but an expanded reserves program which my government is prepared to consider from the Barbados Defence Force. We must be ready for all and any eventualities. And for us, as I said, they are not the traditional ones. To this, we must add the battles of the 21st century, which more and more are going to be in the area of cyber crime and cyber threats to security and biological threats to security. And therefore, the Barbados Defence Force must develop the skill set to allow our country not to be confronted in a way that leaves us flat-footed with respect to these threats.
The opposition leader is calling for safeguards to protect customs officers from being threatened or induced into breaking the law. In his contribution to debate on amendments to the Customs Act, Bishop Joseph Atherley called for better terms and conditions for the officers to prevent such occurrences.
We need better to deal with a situation where the number of containers, let's say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which have to be inspected and treated to off-site away from the official customs areas, are treated to in a better circumstance, that such officers who are exposed in that way are protected from the potential inducements of those persons, like I said, who are bent on corrupt practices. There are those who may not offer inducements. There are those who would seek to intimidate by threat or potential threat. This is the reality of life in 2019, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And all I'm simply saying in a very broad way is, as we seek to improve the system, let's bear in mind the people who function in the system, especially the officers who are at the center of that service.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In Grenada, the Keith Mitchell administration says it has moved to remove persons from its cell phone plan after it emerged that former public officers have racked up thousands of dollars in charges. In one case, an individual's bill was 70,000 EC dollars for just 3 months. Yesterday, Press Secretary Philomena Robinson indicated that steps are being taken to prevent a recurrence.
We have already taken action to remove persons who are no longer eligible for inclusion on government's cell phone plan. Some of them, I will say, have opted to keep their numbers, but have assumed immediate responsibility for their bills. We are continuing to engage with the service provider, Digicel, with a view to examining cost in some instances and to determine possible reductions in charges based on the cap that exists with respect to all persons who are included on government's plan.
And finally, the U.S. House of Representatives yesterday voted to condemn President Donald Trump for racist comments against 4 minority Democratic Congresswomen. The symbolic vote aims to shame Trump and his fellow Republicans who stood by him. We get the details from NBC News.
Join us in condemning the president's racist tweets. To do anything less would be a shocking rejection of our values and a shameful abdication of our oath of office.
That comment triggering a rare and remarkable House floor fight. Republicans successfully arguing the Speaker broke the rules with a personal attack.
I request that the gentlewoman's words are unparliamentary and request that it be taken down.
One Democrat leaving in disgust.
Because we want to just fight, abandon the chair.
The resolution symbolic, meant to put Republicans under pressure to vote on the president's tweet Sunday, suggesting 4 freshman progressives go back to their home countries. All 4 lawmakers are women of color and U.S. citizens. Only one was not born in the U.S. Top Republicans mostly deflecting and defending President Trump.
This is about socialism versus freedom.
The president's not a racist. And I think the tone of all of this is not good for the country.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Carol Williams. Have a good day.